mysterious girl 11 who appears in the Netflix series Stranger Things will remind you a lot of your favorite characters. She's telekinetic. This power ranges from turning on electronics to breaking glass, throwing large objects, and even affecting the bones and bodily functions of other humans. But at the end of Season 3, she loses her power without any explanation. So join us as we talk about some theories about why it happened.
Do you want to win any of these items on your screen? If so, be sure to watch the whole video, leave a like, and comment the hidden message. And with that being said, let's get right into the video.
How 11's powers work.
Grow the hell up!
11 was born with powers as a result of her mother's exposure to hallucinogenic drugs during pregnancy and her time as an MK Ultra subject test. The project studied the effects of psychoactive drugs. These powers were most likely enhanced later on as she was the object of many experiments at Hawkins' lab under the supervision of Dr. Martin Brenner. They conducted a series of experiments on her, resulting in her abilities to manifest themselves fully. Her abilities include telekinesis, extrasensory perception, telepathy, psychometry, technopathy, portal manipulation, and memory reading, which was through contact in the void. I'm sure you remember, but if not, the void is a visual representation of 11's mind while using extrasensory perception to locate other entities in different locations to her own. Her telepathy and psychometry are both linked to ESP, extrasensory perception, which is also called the sixth sense. It includes claimed perception of information not gained through the recognized physical senses, but sensed with the mind. And one way to develop ESP is to be more in touch with your innermost self on a deep level. It could be accomplished through meditation, but does meditation have anything in common with L? Or should we give up trying to explain all scientifically? Through practice, 11 has gained full control of most of these skills, although some of them can still be triggered by her emotions. If she's under too much stress or intense fear or anxiety, they can be released or get stronger. Out of all these powers, the ones she uses the most are telekinesis and portal manipulations. And it's important not to forget ESP, which she has used to spy on other people, from Russian agents to Will Byers, that she had mastered her ESP skills and could enter the void simply by wearing a blindfold, something she could only achieve at first via sensory deprivation. And this particular skill is the actual core of the theory. 11's powers have always been the center of Stranger Things' biggest mysteries, but by the end of Season 3, those powers are all gone. It's not exactly clear where the powers went or even why she lost them. But the show gives us a few hints to go on. Maybe that's the point. We have to figure it out just like a giant puzzle. Theory number 3, Mind Flayer. The most obvious explanation is that the Mind Flayer and its giant blobby monster made out of people stuck one of its many tentacle mouths on 11's legs. Along with a pretty horrifying wound, the monster also puts a tiny version of itself inside L. Can this be a real cause of L becoming powerless? While most of the characters seem convinced that the Mind Flayer wants to kill 11 and maybe even absorb her powers, it seems likely that the tiny version of the blob monster was slowly sapping her powers while inside her leg. It's possible that the Mind Flayer that had lodged itself into L was acting like a virus to destroy her abilities and was attacking her own psychic powers. It was forcibly removed by what power 11 had left, but the Mind Flayer took her powers with it. We know that the Mind Flayer was being controlled from the upside down, and when Joyce destroyed the portal, it also cut the connection to the big spider blob monster. When they closed the portal, it seems they also cut off 11 from whatever stole her powers. If that's the secret, we'll all be without her powers for the next season. However, it is unclear as to whether or not the Mind Flayer itself is dead, or if any trace of it remains in the human realm. Given that a bit of it managed to survive outside of the Upside Down after 11 closed the portal in Season 2, it wouldn't be much of a stretch for some bit of it to still exist. Theory number 2, Hopper.
Yes. I promise.
Another theory suggested by a Redditor believes that Elle's sudden loss of her powers is directly linked to Hopper. One of her powers is to locate people remotely, even if they're in the Upside Down, so there's no GPS and limiting distances working for her. We don't know the fate of Hopper, who was seemingly gone by the end of the season, but then there is a quick post-credit scene that teases the next season of Stranger Things. It takes place somewhere in Russia, where 2 Russian guards bring a prisoner to a cage that's containing a Demogorgon from Season 2. So what did actually happen to Hopper? We honestly don't know who the American prisoner is that the Russians have, and neither does Eleven. Is Hopper truly alive? During the beginning of the season, we see the Russians testing out their machine to open up the gate to the Upside Down. When it goes out of order, we see that the scientists in the room get turned into nasty goop. However, Hopper kicks the bucket next to the machine. There is no bloody trace left of him. In fact, there is nobody whatsoever. That literally means that Elle knows there might be a chance that Hopper is alive. The showrunners could have given fans a clear yes or no answer when it came to the fate of Hopper, but it was all left in the dark as we didn't see any physical evidence of his passing. Because of all these unanswered questions, we can assume that in some way, shape, or form, Elle's lack of powers is somehow tied to Hopper and thus the gate. But what if it's not Hopper? We have to prepare for the other possibility that the American prisoner is Elle's other father, Dr. Brenner. The Russians having Brenner in their possession also answers how they were able to get a gate in Hawkins. Despite the fact that he got body slammed by the Demogorgon in Season 1, we actually never saw the aftermath. Regain her powers. If Eleven is going to regain her powers in Season 4, it's likely that she'll need some help. But who could help her? Well, there are only two people who could potentially be of any use. The first is Dr. Brenner, Elle's papa, who monitored her powers throughout her childhood and is the one scientist who understands them. Brenner's knowledge, however, may not be particularly helpful. It's intellectual, not experimental, and there's no evidence Eleven ever lost her powers before, meaning his scientific training wouldn't really be beneficial to finding a solution. Remember Eleven's sister? The other person that's considered to be helpful for Elle to regain her powers is Callie, aka 8, another of the children that Brenner experimented with. Callie was introduced in Season 2 of the show when she was about 6 years older than 11 and possessed a slightly different power set. She is able to implant images into people's minds to make them see or not see what she wants. She typically uses her abilities to generate fear, but they don't have to be used that way. Callie and Eleven met and teamed up in Chicago. The dynamic between the two was fascinating, with Eleven rejecting Callie's wrathful ways, but one thing was certain. Callie understood these powers a lot better than Eleven did. She was able to train Eleven to tap into them in a way that she had never done before, setting her up for closing the gate at the end of the season. Given that that's the case, Callie could be an actual key to regaining Eleven's powers in Season 4. Perhaps Callie and other Hawkins Lab experiments will unite to reawaken their sister's powers and defeat any lingering traces of the Upside Down. Other theories that mention Eleven's regained powers include nothing but naturality. People keep pouring their ideas into Eleven's powers coming back naturally. She was born with her powers because of the experiments Brenner and his scientists performed on her mother, and they won't just disappear. And the last theory we're going to mention went actually viral. One fan from Reddit claimed that Eleven needed a powerful emotional stimulus to reactivate her powers, and that could be her newfound love for Mike. This is drawn from the fact that during her time under experiments from Dr. Brenner, she was often exposed to extreme conditions to maximize her potency. The author of the theory explains that love can be a very overpowering emotion that eclipses all others, but most of all, it's a positive emotion, something Eleven hasn't experienced before. That said, being separated from Mike might be a pain strong enough to bring her powers back, even if slightly. Other fans argue that if that was the case and Love tamed her powers a bit, her powers would have vanished earlier, specifically after Season 2, when the Mind Flayer was defeated, the gate closed, and she had a proper home with Hopper. One fan added that more than being rooted in negative emotions, her powers might be triggered by an adrenaline response, which in turn would make it difficult for her to access them when burned out with terror or grief. Whether negative emotions or adrenaline, Elle's powers are certainly linked to emotions one way or another, and that's where their key to return might actually be.
A simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's really your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Go for it.
As with all Stranger Things, this is one hell of a mystery, and we can't wait to figure it all out. But which theory do you think is the most convincing? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on your post notifications so you never miss a video from us. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.